adjustment for February the 23rd, 2021. Could we have a motion to approve or amend the agenda for this evening? There is a change. We're removing agenda item 3.1. So we'll be approving the agenda, not including item 3.1. Okay, when you move or second, just give your name and we'll do it that way. Do we have a motion?
Brad.
Brad, thank you, Brad.
I'll second that, Bruce.
Okay, thanks, Robert. All in favor?
Yeah, Brad.
All right. Anyone have any items of pecuniary interest and or general nature thereof this evening?
Yeah, Bruce, I can't vote on item 3.3 for Matt Albrecht.
Okay, okay, thanks, Brad. Okay, could we have a motion to adopt and signing of the minutes as circulated? The minutes of the November 24th, 2020 meeting be adopted and printed and early distributed and be signed by the chair and the secretary. Mover?
I'll make that motion, Bruce.
Thank you. Seconder?
I guess I can, Brad.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. Statement of precedent for this evening. Any decision reached by this committee tonight cannot be used to set a precedent. Okay, moving on to new business, public hearings. The following public hearings are to consider applications for minor variance as follows. An application for minor variance, file number A1 20.
If everybody could mute their computer at home. Gerda, can you mute your computer? Sounds
Oh, sorry.
left. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, item 1, an application for minor variance, file number A1 2021 by Pierre Chauvin on behalf of Tim McDonald affecting property located at 8489 Road 164. Secondly, an application for minor variance, file A2 2021 by Matthew Albright affecting property described as Lot 3, Concession 1 Wallace, Ward 5098, Perth Line 86. And item number 3, an application for minor variance, file A3 2021 by William Bacher Enterprises Incorporated affecting property described as part of Lot 30, Concession 2 Elma, known as 7852 Perth Road 147. The purpose of these hearings is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed applications and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Any person present who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer at this time. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the decision made by this hearing may be filed with the Secretary Treasurer not later than March the 15th, 2021. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. So anyone wishing to have written notice of this meeting?
To make it easier, Bruce, I will be sending notice to everybody who's registered and is
Oh,
present.
okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, the first one we have is an application for minor variance, file A1 2021 by Pierre Chauvin on behalf of Tim McDonald, affecting property located at 8489 Road 164. Registrants are Tim McDonald, owner, Pierre Chauvin, MHBC, and Michelle Bea, MHBC. I will now call on planner Sean Gomez to present the planning report and recommendations. Okay, Sean?
Hi, good evening, committee members. Actually, Robert Wilson, who is the student, was going to help me with this presentation, but I don't see him on here because I know he had another engagement. So I'm just going to go ahead with this. And if he is on here, just let me know. But otherwise, the applicant on behalf of the property owner is requesting a variance to the North Perth zoning bylaw provisions to add a use to the existing site-specific agricultural commercial industrial zone identified as ACM-14. And this would include an agricultural related use in the form of a farm equipment sales and or service establishment and a farm related storage and warehousing establishment. A minor variance justification letter was prepared by MHBC Planning and submitted to staff, outlining the proposed uses, justification, and adherence to the 4-part tests. The subject lands are located on the east side of Road 164, just north of the Listowel Ward settlement area. And the site is approximately 2.1 hectares or 5.2 acres and are presently vacant. The applicant is seeking a minor variance to permit an additional use, which is currently permitted in the ACM zone, but not within the site-specific ACM-14 zone. As noted, the site-specific -14 zone limits permitted uses to a farm implement sales and service establishment and accessory uses. And this does not permit a farm equipment sales and service establishment or a farm-related storage and warehousing establishment. Excuse me. The subject property is within the agriculture designation and is within the agricultural commercial industrial zone, which permits several agriculturally related uses, including farm equipment sales and service establishment and farm related storage warehousing establishment. Section 5.5.10 of the County of Perth official plan outlines farm related and industrial activities, including farm related commercial uses directly related to meeting agricultural and farming requirements in proximity to farming operations. The subject lands are located along a provincial highway, which provides surrounding farm operations with quick access to the subject lands. As noted, the agricultural, commercial, and industrial zone permits a wide range of farm-related activities, including equipment sales and service establishments, as well as the storage warehousing establishment. As the applicant is seeking to introduce a use that is compliant with the ACM zone, it is the opinion of staff that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. Additionally, the applicant proposed activity of equipment sales and service establishment and the storage warehousing establishment is compatible with adjacent properties, as well as the surrounding agricultural operations. The general location is characterized by highway commercial uses, agricultural, commercial industrial uses, and large rural residential properties, with the proposed activities being consistent with uses in the area. As such, it is the opinion of staff that the variance meets the 4 requirements, and it is the recommendation that the committee approve the application for a minor variance. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition to the application and a request that they give their name and address for the record when they are recognized? Okay, I think Pierre?
Yes, good
Or
evening.
Tim? or Tim, whichever one.
I'll be speaking, Mr. Chair, but thanks. My name is Pierre Chauvin with MHBC Planning. And as you note, Tim McDonald, who is the applicant, is here as well this evening. Just here to be in support of the application and to say that we fully support and agree with Sean's recommendation. I just want to add that what for us, or at least for me, it boiled down to is the zoning and the range of permitted uses that are contemplated for these lands. What's currently permitted in the special provision is, although it may be narrow in scope in terms of a farm implement and sales service establishment, when you start dissecting what that kind of use permits, is very similar to what we're proposing, in that there's storage of goods, there's warehousing, there's sales and service of equipment. So a lot of the things that our client is proposing to do in this proposed facility is already occurring next door. And so although it may not be specifically listed in the special provision, these activities are actually occurring. So that's really for me professionally was really the basis for why this, in my opinion, was the proposed variance is consistent with the zoning, and certainly from a location, given its context, it is appropriate and desirable, and the impacts here are going to be really minor. So again, I support Sean's recommendation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. Tim, have you got anything to add?
No, thank you. Pierre's covered it well, and I think Sean's comments about our intended use is accurate and backed up by Pierre. So we're aligned with everything that's been proposed so far. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or agent? And I request that they give their name and their address for the record when they are recognized. Anyone else? Seeing none? Does the applicant have any comments in respect to the application in addition to? Any questions from the committee members?
I have one through you,
Yes,
Mr.
Robert.
Chair. This property will be developed under site plan control.
Yes, absolutely. It will be subject to site plan approval for any proposed development.
That's my question.
Any other questions? Okay.
There's just one moment. There's somebody attending that it just says owner. Could they give their name?
I think that's me, Danette, Don Ray.
Don? Okay, Don Ray's here, one of our committee members. Okay, thanks, Don. Didn't want to miss you.
I'm sorry, you're hearing me okay? Had a bit of an issue with my computer here, but I think if you can hear me, we're all set.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, Don. Thanks. Okay,
good.
could we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Seconder.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Robert? All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
So the motion was to approve the application as submitted by MHBC Planning on behalf of the owner. Notice will be given this week with a 20-day appeal period. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, moving on to application for minor variance, file A2, 2021 by Matthew Albright, affecting property described as Lot 3, Concession 1, Wallace, known as 5098 Perth Line 86. Registrants are Matt Albright, the owner, and Brad Gibson. I will now call on the planners, Sean, to present the planning report and recommendations. Sean?
Thank you. The property owner is requesting a revised variance to the North Perth zoning bylaw provisions, which was previously approved by the Committee of Adjustment on October 27th, 2020. Relief was granted, effectively reducing the minimum interior side yard requirement from 4.5 meters or 15 feet to 0.9 meters or 3 feet in an effort to permit the establishment of additional grain storage bins less than 12 meters in height on the subject lands. The applicant has since altered the original bin configuration and is proposing to increase the height of the bins to 15.5 meters or 51 feet, while setting the bins back 2.4 meters or 8 feet from the property line, rather than 0.9 meters or 3 feet that was originally approved. The purpose of this altered relief is to accommodate spouting and grain handling devices, which will be efficient with this new bin configuration. The height of the bins are permitted, however, normally requires an interior side yard setback of at least 18 meters or 60 feet. As noted, the applicant is proposing to set the bin 2.4 meters or 8 feet away from the westerly property line and therefore requires relief. The location of the proposed bin structures is adjacent to an existing woodlot on the neighboring property. A justification letter has been included in the application submission, which was prepared by Brad Gibson of Weitzel Dice Engineering. Additionally, several immediate neighbors have signed a letter of support for the proposal. These items were attached to the report. The subject property is within the agriculture designation and is within the agricultural zone, which permits a variety of agricultural uses, including the proposed grain bins. Section 6.3.3.2 permits grain bins less than 12 meters in height to be placed 4.5 meters from the interior side yard. Grain bins that are over 12 meters in height or more in height, the minimum side yard shall be equal to the height of the structure, but shall not be less than 18 meters. The applicant is proposing to locate the grain storage bins 2.4 meters or 8 feet from the interior side yard setback. Based on the height proposed, an 18-meter setback would normally be required. When reviewing the application for a minor variance, it's important that the committee must ensure that all 4 requirements specified under the Planning Act are satisfied. These include that the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw are met, that the variance is minor in nature, and that it is considered to be a desirable form of development. The proposed grain bins are permitted within the agricultural zone, and however, as I mentioned, require a setback of 18 meters. The intent of the interior side yard requirement is to ensure an appropriate distance from the proposed structure to the neighboring property and to ensure adequate privacy and reduce any potential conflicts or shadowing. The proposed location of the bins on the subject property are adjacent to a large woodlot that has been designated and zoned the Natural Resource Environment designation and in the NRE 2 zone. This woodlot creates an extensive natural buffer between the proposed location of the grain bins and the neighboring dwelling. Additionally, as development is not permitted in this area, it is likely that no development will be permitted on that portion of the property in the future. Additionally, when we're determining if a variance is minor, consideration must be given to the impact and or the extent of the relief. Although the relief represents a large reduction in a numerical sense, the impact has been determined to be relatively minor. The calculation for setbacks for grain bins changes significantly in the zoning bylaw when a bin is less than 12 meters versus when they are greater than 12 meters. For example, a 12-meter bin requires a 4.5-meter setback, whereas a 12.5-meter bin requires an 18-meter setback. The applicant has suggested that the increase in the height of the bin from 12 meters to 15.5 meters with the shifting of the bins further away from the property line has contributed to the minor nature of the request. Finally, the proposed green bins are permitted structures on agricultural properties and can be placed on the property without relief. The applicant has determined that this location is the most efficient on the property for the existing operation, as it utilizes a portion of the property that goes relatively underused. As such, staff feels that the 4 requirements have been maintained and therefore recommends that the committee approve the application for a minor variance. However, with the condition that this variance replace the recent variance that was previously approved by the committee on October 27th, 2020. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in favor of the proposal?
Yeah, I can say a bit to it, Bruce.
Okay,
Yeah, so, and not more, Sean did a pretty good job in his report there. So ultimately what Matt's looking for here is to slightly adjust the height of the bins that were provided, or that were applied for in the October application. When we started moving ahead with the numbers in the bins from that application with his with the bin supplier and the millwright, it made more sense to go with taller bins. So anyway, that's kind of why the application's back in before the committee.
thanks, Brad. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor or opposed? Seeing none, any comments from the committee?
I have one question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Robert.
Has the existing driving shed been reviewed for any snow shadow effect from the excessive height of the bins?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nor has the municipality been made aware of any type of study.
I'm just looking at the one sketch here with the bins located in proximity to the and on the westerly side of the existing drive shed. I think a review of the snow shadow effect may be prudent.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing that they shouldn't. The bins that are located closer to the driving shed, those two are just overhead bin structures. Those aren't the larger bins that are being asked for relief.
Okay,
Not to say the same problem doesn't exist.
so there exists now, Brett?
No, those two that overhead structure with those 2 new bins, those will be new as well, but those aren't the bins that are those aren't the tall bins that are part of this application.
Okay.
Again, not to say that it's not a concern, it shouldn't be a concern, but it's yeah, those are separate bins.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Yes, Don? Second?
Motion to approve. Don, Ray.
Yep, okay, thanks, Don. The seconder,
I'll second that. Bob McLean.
Robert? Okay, we have a motion moved by Don Ray, second by Robert McLean, that the committee approve the application for minor variance submitted by Matt Albright, A2 2021, affecting property described as Lot 3, Concession 1, Wallace Ward, known as 5098 Perth Line 86 to reduce the minimum interior side yard requirement from 18 meters, which is 60 feet, to 2.4 meters, which is 8 feet. This will permit the establishment of 4 grain storage bins with 15.5 meters or 51 feet at the proposed location of the subject on the subject property. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Again, notice will be given, and there's a 20-day appeal period from tonight. Thanks. And
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the third application for minor variance, file A3 2021 by William Barker Enterprises, affecting property described as part lot 30 concession 2 Elma, known as 7852 Perth Road 147. Registrants are Gerda Barker on behalf of William Barker Enterprises. John Kircher, Dave Johnson on behalf of Mapleview Farms Incorporated, and Doug Johnson. I'll call on the planner, Sean, to present the planning report and his recommendations.
Thank you. The property owner is seeking relief to reduce the calculated minimum distance separation, or MDS2 setback distance, to the nearest road allowance, which is Perth Road 147, from 60 meters to 35 meters. If approved, the establishment of another livestock facility, a dairy facility, will be permitted at the proposed location, which would be clustered with the existing operation. The justification letter was included in the submission package submitted by the applicant and shared with the committee. The subject property is within the agriculture designation and is within the agricultural zone. This designation and zone permits a variety of agricultural uses, including the proposed livestock facility. Section 6.3.3.1 provides that setbacks for livestock facilities shall be established by the minimum distance separation to formula, but shall not be less than 18 meters. As I mentioned previously, the application for a minor variance is subject to meeting the 4 requirements under the Planning Act. I won't repeat them again, but staff feels that these 4 requirements have been met. The proposed livestock facility is a permitted use. However, the setback for livestock barns are determined by the MDS2 calculations. However, must maintain 18 meters or 60 feet. The MDS2 calculation has determined a 60-meter setback applies to the nearest road allowance, specifically Perth Road 147. The proposed building location, which is 35 meters from the road allowance, matches the existing calf barns and structures on the property and maintains a location within the existing farm building cluster. The building meets all other setbacks, including the required distance from lot lines, which is 30 meters, and has no MDS conflict with any nearby residential dwelling. The applicant is requesting to reduce the setback from the nearest road allowance from 60 meters to 35 meters, as calculated from the MDS2 calculation. However, the proposed building location is set back the same distance as the existing buildings and structures on the property, and is, as I mentioned, is located within the existing farm cluster. The proposed facility is in a location that utilizes the land efficiently, and all other provision and setbacks are met from the proposed location. As such, staff feels that the 4 requirements have been maintained and therefore recommend that the committee approve the relief requested by the applicant. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, Gerda, do you have something to add to what Sean has given us or to your application?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the relief that we are seeking is reduction of the required side yard required by section 6.3.3.1 of North Perth zoning bylaw of 60 meters calculated by the MDS calculation for proposed new livestock barn to 35 meters. And our justification is the proposed relief does not actually create a reduced side yard as a new barn is being built the same distance from Perth Road 147 as the existing calf barn on the property that is 35 meters from Perth Road 147. The calf barn is immediately adjacent to the proposed barn. The proposed location of the new livestock facility maintains a new facility in close proximity to the other barns and buildings on the property, ensuring that a minimum of agricultural land will be taken out of production by the new facility. And the third point, the proposed location of the new livestock facility is on a similar grade as the other buildings on the property, decreasing the need for additional drainage and interference with the natural flow of surface water. This also decreases the need for additional fill to build up the area west of the proposed barn. If the proposed barn was to move to the west to comply with the required side yard of 60 meters, it would be located on the land that slopes away from the existing graveled yard shown on the site plan. The movement will create the need for significantly more grading and drainage work, and all other requirements of the zoning bylaw are complied with, and the proposed location of the barn is well outside and requires setback mandated by MDS2 calculation from buildings on the adjacent property. And some more information about it: the agricultural building on the property, the calf barn, all the buildings were built between 2007 and 2017. There's also a house on the property, and the maximum height of all buildings on the property is the height of the new proposed barn of 8 meters. And that's it. I hope that's clear.
Okay, thank you very much, Gerda.
Yep.
Okay, do we have anyone else wish to speak in support of or in opposition to this application?
Dave Johnston, I would like to speak, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Dave, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. My name is Dave Johnston. I'm a partner in Mapleview Farms. We have farms to the southeast and to the northeast of the property in question tonight. I do have a question and a couple of comments. Firstly, one of the things about this, the sign placement for this public meeting was in a very poor position. It was in a spot where it kept getting hit by the snowplow, and that made it very hard to stop and read the sign. Just a point of order. I do have a question about the calf barn that is placed 35 meters. Was there a minor variance for that barn to be placed that close to the road allowance? I don't know if the planner can answer that, or if anybody can.
To be speaking frankly, I'm not sure. I'm not aware. It could have at one time produced a different setback depending on what the livestock operation was.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So,
if you would like us to find out, we would more certainly do that.
I don't remember ever being made aware of the minor variance for that property, for that barn. So they're asking for 25 meters of relief. The 25 meters would actually move it closer to the road, which would move it further away from the manure system. And they say in their justification letter that it's partly to preserve farmland, but that 25 meters that they're moving it closer to the road could have been preserved next to the Britain Road, the Road 147, except now that most of that topsoil has already been stripped away. So that farmland has already been stripped away of all its topsoil. In the justification report that they put, it is also stated that moving it to the west would require significant grading and drainage work. I have farmed beside that piece of land for 50 years, and it's always been a very flat piece of ground, that end of the farm. So it was flat up until all the topsoil being moved and all the gravel being put there. So to me, the significant grading would be the man-made pile of topsoil that is now at the west end of that property, where the barn is going to be situated. It also states that all the buildings are 35 meters from the road allowance along along 147. And I don't think we should be making decisions just based on solely on aesthetics, so that they all look nice and they all line up. To me, this actually looks like another case of a builder that is asking for forgiveness after the fact instead of permission before, because the topsoil has been stripped and the gravel has been in there and packed for 5 months, and it's been put in there at the 35 meters from the road allowance, not any further away. So to me, it's another case where everyone is just assuming that it will be passed and carried on, and that's where the gravel has been placed. Thank you for listening to my comments.
John
Thanks.
McKercher can speak for the applicant.
Yes, John.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Sean Yilmaz for an excellent summary of the principles for minor variances, and just reminding the committee of those principles, you know, as to whether the variance is minor in nature, and that is once again not necessarily just an exercise of the percentage of the minor variance. It's to do with the nature of the buildings and the property itself. You know, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and whether the variance is desirable for the development and the use of the property, and whether the general intent and purpose of the official plan has been maintained. I think Sean's pointed that abundantly clear that that's the case in this matter. So, you know, I think I appreciate his professional approach to the application. So thank you, Sean.
Any other comments? Yes, Ed.
Just a reminder, we will be asking for a survey to confirm that that distance if approved.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Any other comment? Yes, Gerda.
Yes, the calf barn, if they're talking about, that was surveyed, and we put it 2 meters closer to the, farther away from the road, 2 meters closer to the other buildings when we did that survey, when we built that calf barn.
Okay, thank you. And any other comments?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
I'm just wondering, is there any significant environmental impact that would not support this building being someplace else on the farm? Like, I appreciate the fact that we're trying to preserve farmland, but it's usually at the expense of another compromise. Typically when you look at MDS reductions, it should be in consistency with the minimum or the Nutrient Management Act and their provisions. In reading that document, justification for minor variances and adjustments to MDS would include significant environmental impacts or sensitive natural areas. And with the development on this, I don't see that being the case here.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any questions or comments from the committee? Is the committee ready to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Brad. Do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it, Bruce.
John? Moved by, moved by Brad Gibson, second by Don Ray, that the committee approve the application for minor variance A3 2021 to reduce the calculated minimum distance separation to MVS 2 setback to the nearest road allowance, Perth Road 147, from 60 meters to 35 meters. This will permit a livestock dairy facility at the proposed location. All in favor? Or opposed?
Aye.
Carried. I declare this public meeting, the public hearing closed. Thank you.
Notice will be given. There's a 20-day appeal period from the decision of tonight.
Thanks, everyone. Is there any other business for the agenda tonight?
This is more on process. Normally I would pass the decisions out at this point and have the members sign. So I'm going to email them to you. If you can sign and scan back. If not, you could drop it in the mailbox of the office if you're in town. Just so watch for that.
Okay. Okay. Any correspondence tonight? No. Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Ron? Seconder?
Brad?
Brad? Okay, moved by Don Ray, seconded by Brad, that the meeting is now adjourned at 7:43 PM. All in favor?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much for your participation.
Take care, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
so long.
Bye.